we caught up with an industry friend of ours who works in gospel music. Her name is Donna King. And she's certainly been through this with her own child, and
Yes.
it's a painful journey, but one of redemption.
Yes, and I was able to talk with her extensively about her journey with her daughter and addiction, but she really gives us an insightful look on families and how they can sometimes be the forgotten ones, especially in the church.
To me, it's such a huge, important thing because I know we as Christians sometimes we don't want to share our stuff. We don't want to be real. And our tagline here at Joy FM is real music, real life. And this is another reason I wanted to tackle this subject because it is deep and it is heavy. But you know what? It is real life. And when we hide all this stuff and it just builds within us, it makes us physically ill trying to help other people. You couldn't sleep. I'm sure you were physically sick over Jenna. And so you reached out to somebody and was willing to say, you know what, I can't do this anymore on my own. The Lord is with me. I know He's with me, but I have to have some guidance in this. And so you, at this point, I'm assuming, found Celebrate Recovery. Is that correct?
Interestingly, I still had not found Celebrate Recovery. That is what's so amazing. What happened is I did, however, begin to attend Al-Anon, and I began to educate myself. There's a great book that I highly recommend for everyone listening who has anyone who's struggling with any sort of addiction, or you might be the girl or the gal who says yes to everybody at the expense of your own sanity. You could be a person who really needs to read this book. Not that you are necessarily a codependent, but you could have some traits, and this could be really helpful. And this is where the turnaround started for me. I read a book called Codependent No More, and I began to attend Al-Anon. I called God who He is in my life at those meetings, but those meetings helped equip me in reacting and responding to my daughter's struggle. The book Codependent No More is written by Melody Beatty. This is a woman who has been through so much I can't even begin to explain, but let me tell you this, when you read it, you will feel less alone than you felt when you started the book. And in that book, it started to teach me more about myself and teach me more about how to react and respond or not react and respond to my daughter's situation. And so I began to make it impossible. Instead of trying 5 million things, started to learn what not to try and how to set up roadblocks for Jenna that would prevent her from getting into situations where she could get money to get drugs or anything. See, she had gone from using marijuana to taking a drug by mouth. This is after what is now 8 years of an addiction journey with my child. There's so much emotion, but then there's also the schooling part, the education part that I'm so deep in that I want to get out as they are progressing in their disease. And I refer to it as a disease, and that's a tricky word for people in Christianity because we tend to feel very strongly about needing to call sin, sin, and it is, and rebellion, rebellion, and it is. But there is a certain moment that this becomes a disease. The reason for that is because the physical dependency on whatever it is that's going into the person's body or a stimulus to their brain, a gambling addiction that sends off these hormones that actually changes brain chemistry. That is why I'm referring to it as a disease. I understand that the debate is still out whether a person is born an addict or whether they become an addict. I don't know the answer to that. What I do believe, though, is that the physiology of the person's brain chemistry changes because of their struggle with addiction. So they start with marijuana, and that's emotional. They go to the next thing, which might be a pill. What happens is you take this pill and you become immune because our body is such a rescuer, because we are so fearfully and wonderfully made, praise you, Jesus, that God actually has protections in place for us. And so we start to not feel that as much. So then the addict, they'll go to the next step, which is snorting it. Then they go to the next step, which is shooting it. You asked me at the beginning of the conversation if I ever thought that this could happen to my daughter. And I had my little list of things that I thought could happen to any one of us or to any one of my children. But what I didn't ever believe is that it could ever get to the point where my daughter would hurt herself or that my daughter would shoot up drugs. I just thought she won't ever put a needle in her arm, right? But it happened. She became more and more dangerous to herself. And I had to come to the point where I did have to ask her to leave my home. However, the key is that she always knew that she was welcome in our home when she was well, that Zane and I love her. She is our child, and that she was welcome in our home when she was well. I can tell you that that was one of the hardest moments of my life. However, because of it, she became desperate, and because of that, she became willing to go into her first round of rehab. But I knew one thing, and this is pinnacle. I had been going to Al-Anon. I had read The Codependent No More. I had been seeking counsel with Christian counselors. We had been seeing a family counselor, Zane and I, together. So understand that there were lots of things in place that were helping guide us through this. So those of your sweet Joy FM folks who come for real music and who come to learn more about real life need to hear this. Getting a strong army in place around you is vital.
Donna King, and such an important topic of addiction. And Donna speaks from firsthand experience. It's here on Joy FM. We'll have more of our discussion with Donna in a future episode. Thanks for watching.